to THA Talks, for free thought and open minds.
And for freedom of speech.
Hello, I'm Paul Obitelli, and welcome to another edition of THA Talks, the alternative podcast show from the UK. Our talks include news, conspiracy, spirituality, the occult, science, history, art, philosophy, religion, and much more. If you'd like to check out our full archive, just go to www.thatalks.com to listen to or to download all our free content. And if there's anyone who'd like to contact us and give us some feedback, maybe you'd like to recommend a guest for the show, you can email us info@thatalks.com, or you can contact us straight via our website. And don't forget, you can subscribe to the show via our RSS feed, and you can also find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, and many other podcast directories out there. Well, hello everyone, thanks for tuning in again. Today we're going to be speaking with none other than our very own Rev David Parry, along with Daniele Irandoost, a former guest. And we're going to be speaking about an up-and-coming TEDx talk in Lambeth in October. So without any further ado, David and Daniele, how are you doing?
Well, nice to be back, Obitelli. Yourself?
Yeah, no, it's good to be. It's been a long time since you've been on the show, Mr. Parry.
Yeah, Reverend. It's been a long time, yeah.
Reverend Parry. So how is all that going?
Oh, there's a long story. I think we ought to say hello to Dan.
Yes, Dan, are you there, mate?
I am. Hello.
How are you doing? It's not been that long since you've been on the show last. You've recently been on for an interesting talk. How are you doing?
Very good, thank you. I'm really glad to be back again.
It's great to have you.
So, hey, thank you for having me back, inviting me to talk again.
Well, I mean, we've got you're involved in. We're all involved in pushing it now. This TEDx talk in Lambeth, that's going to be in October. It's going to be a big event. It's looking really big and stuff. So, how's about we start off the podcast? Let us know what happened, how you come about to organise this intriguing event in Lambeth.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an excellent event. There's no doubt about that. It's going to be groundbreaking. And I thought, it's a good idea to organise it. I'm the founder and the curator, so I have the license to organise this event. No one else has it. And it took about 4 months to do to get the license. We received it in February, actually. So I started in October, and it took about until February to get it.
So were you approached by the actual main TED event, and they approach people just to arrange these? Because just so that people know, a TEDx basically means it's a TED talk, but it's arranged by privately arranged, basically privately organised.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, there's a big difference between TED and TEDx. So TEDx is community-based. So, individuals have to approach TED in order to get a license and organize the event. But TED is sort of, TED events, they're organized by the headquarters, by people who are employed by TED. So TEDx is really non-for-profit. So everyone who's involved in TEDx, all the speakers, all the team members, they're not paid, but, they get lots of benefits out of it.
The publicity pays for itself. So
Yeah. And, the purpose of TEDx is, if you have an idea and you want to contribute to the community, that's how you can do it. With TEDx Lambeth, that's what we want to do. We want to contribute to the community, the Lambeth community. Lambeth is a big area, so we've tried our best to have excellent speakers from a diverse range of sort of backgrounds and expertise. To do that. Obviously, the event isn't going to be in Lambeth, as you know. It's going to be outside Lambeth, but That's actually because of the theme. The theme is antinomies, TEDx Lambeth antinomies, and antinomies means opposites. The event is going to be at the RSA, which is across Lambeth, across the river, and that's how we're explaining it.
Oh, okay. So give us a rundown of the type of speakers that we're going to be seeing there.
Well, at the moment, we've got 10 speakers, but we've approached 2 more. So by the end of it, by the time we get to October, we're going to have 12 speakers and performers. So we've got Ben Brabin. He's the head of Level 39 and a former Royal Marines officer. He's going to talk about collaboration in business.
Right.
Head of Level 39 is actually based in Canary Wharf. They specialize in cybersecurity, fintech, startup companies, that sort of thing. I actually went there to see Ben a couple of months ago, and very, very interesting company. It's very modern. The whole idea is based around sort of Google, very approachable. Employees aren't wearing suits. It's in Canary Wharf, but no one's wearing suits. Very relaxed. People were sort of working and having their lunch, So he's going to talk about collaboration in business. Very good speaker. Then there's Solvi Fanar. He's actually the agent for the Mountain in the Game of Thrones.
Yeah, you've been on our show before.
Season 8. Yeah. Season 8 is starting soon. Is it today or was it yesterday? I'm
not sure. I although I enjoy the program, I've kind of been out of touch of that one for a while because it's I've got to have a binge. I think next time on Netflix and catch up on it next time. But no, I'm not too sure. I know there's one coming recently. Yeah, one being out recently.
It's very popular. Lots of people love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I mean, Solvi is the mountain for the agent. For the character called the Mountain, Sir Gregor the Mountain Clegane, I think that's the character's name. He's also a trainer. He's a multi-athlete, writer, poet, musician, and artist. Interestingly, he's been called a Renaissance man. He's multi-talented. I actually got to know him through David, and I suppose David can say a bit more about him than I can, I suppose, because you're David, you're more familiar with him.
Oh, is that an intro?
Come on in, mate.
Well, yeah, he's an old friend of mine. I mean, Solvi is one of the world's strongest men in his own right. I mean, he's a gifted poet. He's a very close friend of mine. He went to the legendary Icelandic Academy for Acting. And I just think he's one of these hugely... I mean, he's quite famous now. He's going on to do something with Stephen Fry soon. But, he's still really an undiscovered talent in all sorts of ways. I mean, he's always cast as Nazis, because Icelanders tend to be big and blonde and blue-eyed. I mean, and they suffered terribly under the Nazis. But the point is, he's got the look. So he tends to be typecast. My poor friend is typecast. But of course, the Icelanders are the big sort of warriors, aren't they? The big Viking warriors of Europe. And sort of, there's so much more to him than that. I mean, he's been in a couple of films recently and he's trying to expand. And the fact he's talking about the problems men have in expressing their emotional life in our contemporary society, coming from one of the world's strongest men, literally, physically, I think will be fascinating. But I mean, you're looking at something quite parallel there. I mean, Ben used to be a Royal Marine, as far as I know, in which case, you're looking at people from very, very sort of macho backgrounds and the complexities that go along with that. I think that's absolutely fascinating as two tiny antinomies in the much greater scheme. Anyway, look, go through the other speakers as well, Dan.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I must say, I mean, when I met Solvi, I mean, he's larger than life. He's very, very talented. I was quite surprised to see that in a person. But anyway, let's move on to Gillian Haslam. She's actually a former TEDx speaker. She's also a trainer, author and philanthropist. She gives lots of talks about, success, how to achieve success. She's actually the, news, journalists have actually called her the real Slumdog Millionaire. She was born in India to a British father. They actually lived in India, in the slums of India, and then they lived in poverty. She lost her siblings, and now she's a banker, a millionaire. So I think that's going to be a very interesting talk. Antinomies again.
yeah, and again another one that's been on the show as well. She was very, very interesting hearing what she had to say.
Well, Paul, she went down well, didn't she?
Absolutely,
when she was on the show.
She was excellent, and quite an inspirational talk, that one. From rags to riches, as they say.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't actually met her. We've only talked on sort of Skype, but she's a wonderful person, and she's given 2 TEDx talks before. So there was actually no need for me to meet her to assess whether she can give a talk. So I'm very confident about her talk.
Yeah,
and then we've got Michael York, Professor Michael York. He's a Professor Emeritus of Cultural Astronomy and Astrology. I actually met him a couple of weeks ago. He gave a talk in St. Peter's Church. There was an event by David, and he was talking about his recent book and cultural astrology, which is quite an interesting concept. So he's going to talk about that. He's a very, very interesting person, very knowledgeable. He's written lots of books. The Emerging Network. He's written The Divine versus the Assyrian, Pagan Theology, Pagan Mysticism. Very interesting person, very interesting. He regularly sort of travels around. He lives in Amsterdam, London, America, larger than life person. And the talk that he gave in St. Peter's was actually so good. I just instantly thought, this is a TEDx sort of speaker. So that's why I approached him.
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
Yeah. And obviously we've got David. He's going to talk about conceptual art and theatre.
Rev David, he'd say.
Rev,
yes. Reverend, yes, Reverend.
I suppose you can tell us a bit more about your talk, or...
Oh my God, I give too much away. Anyone that knows me knows I prefer to be talking about religion or politics. But of course, under the rules of TED, you're not really allowed to. So that's 90% of my discourse gone. But of course, I am meant to be a tiny expert in conceptualist theatre, which people tend to forget too quickly. So I will probably be spending the entire day as Charlie Chaplin, who of course came from Lambeth. And it gives me the chance to talk about the hat, the moustache, the cane, and how it's the concept which is guiding people, the concept actually guiding the performances, the films he does. So, the whole idea of conceptualist theatre is it's the concept which is primary, not a feeling. I mean, if you take Romeo and Juliet, say, by Shakespeare, arguably, more than arguably, it's based on a feeling. I mean, if you look at it from a modern perspective, they're just nauseating adolescents, self-obsessive millennials, very unpleasant people, and the plays are normally done incredibly badly, where they're introduced as this glorious couple, but all they actually do is bring catastrophe into everybody's life. So the concept is at war. It's dissonant with the script, which I think is fascinating. And I'm not saying they're not in love, but I'm saying what a pair of bastards. So if the concept isn't clear, or the play isn't based on the concept, it's something else. And as I say, that's probably some sort of emotion. It could be based on pure creativity. I mean, there are all sorts of bases for dramas and comedies. But as someone that's meant to adhere to conceptualism, the concept must dominate all, I'll be talking about that and performing at the same time. What more do people want? Take the shirt from my back. I'm a poor minister struggling to keep body and soul together, but I think we'll have an interesting time. And I'm not the only performer, of course, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's Jerry Skeens and we've got Julia Monroe, excellent actresses. Jerry Skeens is an award-winning actress, and Julia Monroe is actually an award-winning writer, but she's also an actress. Julia has been in films and TV series as well for the BBC, and Jerry Skeens has actually performed in a number of films as well. Recently, she performed in what was the name of the film? I think it was Ravenswood and Red River. So I actually saw them both in where was it, David?
We held a Christmas event in Fitzroy House.
Yeah, Fitzroy House. They performed their play on the suffragettes. It was a two-man play. Two women. It was about the suffragettes, and I just fell in love with it. So I thought, they should perform the same thing in TED. So we're actually going to have a performance in a TED event, which is quite unusual because TEDx events are known for their sort of presentations. They don't really have performances, but we want to have something new. It hasn't been done before, really.
Kazakh dancers, yeah. We've got Anna Rasmussen. She's a Central Asian dancer. She was born in Kazakhstan. She's also an academic, businesswoman, web designer. She's going to dance in her traditional Central Asian costume with the accompanying Central Asian music. I think that speaks volumes for itself. She's not going to give a presentation, but I think the idea of having a dance that's not Western, but something that comes from the East as the opposite of West is going to be, it's going to fit into the theme of the event itself. So that's another. We mustn't forget our wonderful Anglo-Saxon poet, Andrew Ray.
Oh, yeah, and one of our very first guests on the show as well, Andrew, yeah.
Well, we've had Michael York on as well, haven't we, Paul?
I don't believe we have. I don't believe we've had I think we were supposed to, but the schedule got messed up and we never got round to it, but I'm sure that's something we should definitely sort out.
Definitely. I'll chase him up. Chase him up about that.
Yeah, sounds good.
I mean, we've got Andrew doing the Lambeth walk. So, I'm not giving too much away about that because that would be a bit of fun at the opening. But I don't want to talk about it.
A very passionate pagan Andrew is as well, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, I mean, somebody said to me recently, we missed the boy with the tree on his head.
Yeah.
So we all know who that means.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, Paul. They're all survivors of Extremist Club, which various friends of ours are still criticising, I hear, Paul. Perhaps you can say something about that.
Sorry, repeat that again.
They're all survivors of Extremist Club.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, various friends of ours are still criticising it, even though they never turned up, and they were invited, and I gave them the chance to come and speak, and they turned it down. I mean, you may remember that debacle, because I'm still livid over the whole thing.
Well, yeah, it's basically like, unfortunately, what we're seeing a lot now in terms of we're slowly beginning to realise that this country and much of Europe isn't actually a free speaking place at the moment. It's officially promotes free speech, but in reality and practice at the moment, it's not really being played out that way. And as the Extremist Club has found out, but it's not the end of it, is it? I think it's just, to be honest, they're probably quite smug that you haven't done any for a while, but it's not really because of that. It was beginning to get quite hard work for you as well, wasn't it, financially and with the stress of it every month? So you needed a bit of a break from it anyway, didn't you?
Oh, Paul, definitely. I mean, we boiled it down for these simpletons, remember, to make it the Free Speech Club.
Yeah.
They obviously had no brains or wit about them. And no, we need a free speech club, but I don't want. Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, it can't do it every month, not with the way things turned out.
Yeah.
You know, and back with my religious duties. I mean, it can't be done. But I just watch this space, because certainly the version of free speech club is on its way back.
Well,
More than that, I don't want to say at the minute.
I think that's really what we need at the moment, because the country is so divided, and I think it's the same sort of the nature of a lot of places in Europe, and to be honest, probably around the world at the moment, the way things are going. But there's so much division. The only way you can really, tackle that division is by speaking. And you may not always agree, and you might even want to jump across the room and attack each other. But the fact is, if you speak and speak your mind, it's the only way that you can actually get close to people. You know, if you don't speak to people, you don't know what they're thinking. You don't know what you're saying. You're just imagining what they think and would say. And that's kind of the same as with these groups that whether you want to call them on the left, on the right, the globalists, the nationalists, whatever. And that whole thing. If you don't come together and talk and hear what people have got to say, then you're never going to get a solution from it. So that's why I think it's vital that you do get something like that back on, be it called the Free Speech Club, the Extremist Club, whatever we call it.
I mean, let's
agree
that's on the cards. Let's agree that's on the cards. I mean,
yeah.
I don't want to name names, but we know the group that was causing so much trouble. I mean, they're also a group that wants to go around book burning and silencing speakers. So that sounds to me like something they don't want to admit.
And they've been exposed a bit themselves, really, through some of the sort of, the Tommy Robinson and that kind of movement and stuff. They've done a little bit of recording and monitoring themselves, and a lot's come out, really.
Very revealing documentary, that, Paul. Very revealing.
Yeah, it just goes to show you, and how Panorama for the BBC at the moment, how that's not been investigated after some of his comments. I can't remember the guy's name who was one of the editors or whatever his job is. What was his? He was the producer. He was the producer. Yeah. He was the producer, and it's kind of been off the radar and stuff. And I'm not saying everyone that's being involved in it is a demon, but you've got to investigate this stuff. It certainly would if it was the other way around,
Well, and you always expect from the BBC quality research. I mean, in my day, I'm going to pull age rank on both of you. In my day, you knew what the BBC said was well researched and thoughtful. My God, nobody could say that now.
Yeah, well,
What on earth has happened to the corporation? An absolutely unbelievable diminution, not only in its civic responsibilities, but in the way it presents itself and makes programs. Absolutely unacceptable.
Well, if you're in the olden days, and I'm old enough to remember these days, and that's that you remember there was always like a mutual position. Like someone on the BBC wouldn't really know whether they were into the Tories or the Conservatives. They'd just be very balanced, and they'd just deliver the news and do their job. Today, it's just completely, they almost like just open about it, particularly on there's a guy on the radio, LBC, I can't remember his name, but he's the American, basically correspondence over there. And he is literally an anti-Trump activist. Now, I know there's a lot of people that are anti-Trump, so that's no shock. But as his job, he literally, on that show, and he's like, he's on a mission to try and change that. And I'm thinking, shouldn't you be balanced? Shouldn't you just be letting us know information and letting us decide whether he's bad or good or what he should be thinking? But that's just completely gone at the moment. And the BBC's the same. It's like, exactly what political stance they're from. And it should never be like it. It's never always been like that. It's not always been like that.
Look, Paul, I mean, if we're paying a license fee, we should be in control of it, which we're clearly not. And I remember when I was a boy growing up, you knew the voice of the BBC was objective as it could possibly be for a human being. To throw that away in the last couple of years is absolutely unimaginable for me. And they're not only doing it with pride, they're doing it with some sort of weird arrogance accompanying it all, that they now know better than us, is absolutely astonishing. So coming from an objective voice, it's now turned into the voice of Nanny. Nanny knows best, Nanny knows better. How dare you condescend to the people who are paying your fees? How dare you? Well, that's the libertarian in me starting up. We better change the subject.
Right. What are your views, Daniel, on that of the mainstream media at the moment? Or do you not? I've got opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all very sinister.
Yeah.
I mean, I've studied, as I mentioned in my in our previous sort of talk on THA. I did intelligence studies when I was back in uni, and I mean, one of the things you learn is the amount of deception that goes on in these platforms, and it's getting worse every day. I mean, it's not as it's worse than it was in Cold War. I mean, false information, false news, fake news. These weren't really as prevalent as they are now during the Cold War, which was a more dangerous time. Now it's sort of internal rather than external, which is more worrying because it's a danger against democracy. During this Cold War, it was sort of a fight against communism, which was a dictatorship. They were defending democracy, but now it's sort of turned internal, so it's against democracy.
Absolutely. I mean, I think what it is the mainstream has such a responsibility, because once the people lose trust in the mainstream, like they just do not trust it anymore, it's a big serious problem, because what do you do to regain that trust? And that's what's happening. I think the EU even done studies that I think it's Britain either is the most or one of the most nations that just don't trust their mainstream media. They have no trust in it, and that's a responsibility that the mainstream media has, and they've abused that. So they can complain now and say, oh, there's a lot of fake news from the mainstream media's point of view. Say, well, that's because people turn away from you and look for news elsewhere. And yeah, I'm sure a lot of it, you're probably getting good news elsewhere, but you're also probably getting bad news elsewhere, and it just makes it all a bit chaotic. So yeah, totally.
Well, listen, TED Talks, that's what they're here for. They're here to give us, ideas that are interesting, that aren't fake, that are thought about, that are, from experts, that come from experts, like, Ben Braben, David, Michael York,
Absolutely.
That's what we're trying to do with TEDx.
We're talking George Orr is better than war, as they say. I think we have missed, is there Katie Day as well?
Yes, I was actually going to mention her. She's an expert on menopause. She's an author, motivational speaker. I actually haven't met her. I've got a meeting with her on Thursday, but I've seen her videos, and she's just spot on. She's incredible. She's going to talk about menopause in the workplace. The reason why I thought that's a good idea is because that's a good TEDx talk. TED Talks are usually about technology, science, feminism, and that sort of thing. So, we were missing that sort of element, which Katie's going to give us. We want lots of variety in our event. So, we have different sorts of things to offer.
In this, I'm not sure how TEDx talks work, but can the audience participate? Can they ask questions, or is it just a speech and that's it? Are you?
I mean, with TED Talks, TEDx standard events, there you can't ask questions, but you can meet the speakers during the intermissions. We're going to have 2 intermissions where free refreshments are provided. So there's actually going to be, I'm going to send out, emails through, just before the event, asking people what they prefer, what sort of food they prefer. And, it's going to be provided free of charge, which is an excellent sort of bonus for our audience. But no, I mean, the audience can't ask questions. However, there are TEDx events. They're called salons, where there is sort of a more intimate sort of interaction between the audience and the speakers. I am thinking of organizing them, but I need to sort of finish TEDx Lambeth before I start that. But no, anyway. But the venue is quite a nice venue. There are 60 seats in our venue, so it is going to be an intimate atmosphere, which our audience will like. Because this is the first TEDx Lambeth event, the audience who will come, they're going to be a big supporter for us. They'll be our foundation really for future events. So, it's going to be a very intimate atmosphere. The audience will get goodies, free goodies. I'm not going to say what is going to be in the goodie bags, but it's going to be an excellent event. The audience and the speakers will benefit mutually. It's definitely sounding like it's going to be a cracker.
What's the way that people can get tickets then?
Yeah, the easiest way to get tickets would be to visit our website, tedxlambeth.com. You'll find all the information you need there. We've got information on the speakers and their bio, their picture. We've got our partners, so the sponsors, the details of our sponsors. We've got details of our team members. You're one of our team members, so which is always excellent. We've got an excellent team, and we need excellent people.
It'd be great to have some of the guests come on the show, could go into what they're going to talk about and this and that as we're building up through the year, obviously. So we'll be happy on this show to keep plugging it into telling people about it and hopefully selling lots of tickets, which I'm sure it will, because it's got the ingredients to be a cracker, as we say. So
yeah, definitely. One of the things to remember is we're planning to have TEDx Lambeth 2020, TEDx Lambeth 21. So we want to continue this into the future. So if people are actually interested in either speaking in future events or being involved as a team member, they should contact me. They'll find my details on the website, my email address. So if they want to get involved, there's also a page on our website where it gives out all the details. So as I was saying, if you want to get tickets, go to tedxlambeth.com, the homepage, and you'll find get your tickets button there. So if you press on that, it'll take you to Eventbrite website, the Eventbrite webpage, where you'll be able to get tickets. There is a wide range of prices. So our lowest price is 16, I think, as far as I remember.
16.85, yeah.
Yeah, 16.85. I'll actually go into the website myself. So that's the back rows. Then we've got early bird tickets. They're available now, and they're selling really quickly. So if anyone wants to get the early bird tickets, they should hurry up. So the early bird tickets are £20, which is a really good price, because our most expensive ticket is $48.56. That's the front row seats, which is closest to the stage. We've got premium tickets. They're £35. We've got gallery tickets. They're £25. So there's a wide range of tickets, which is suitable for people's different needs. So if you don't want to spend lots of money, there's the back row seats.
On the early bird. Yeah. On the early bird, sorry, just to interrupt there. The early bird ones, it's got £15 there. So just so the listeners, if you get early, you can get your back row tickets for £15.
Exactly,
and I'm sure you'll enjoy the talk perfectly with that. So, but obviously if you're there's some other options there as well. But that's get in as quick as you can, because they're obviously cheaper prices.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're selling early bird tickets on the back row seats really quickly. So it's if you want to be at the event, make sure to book your tickets as soon as possible. It's all done online. You don't need to bring any tickets into the event. All you need is an identification sort of card, an ID card, to prove your sort of identity. But apart from that, you don't need anything else. Everything is organized really well, so there's nothing to worry about. Also, the event is starting at 1:30 in the afternoon, and it's going to last till 5 o'clock in the evening. So it's going to be 3 hours and a half, which is really sort of, it's not too long and it's not too short, so it's a perfect balance. Really looking forward to it.
It sounds exciting, and you've got great speakers basically, and obviously that's what it's all about. And I'll be looking forward to David's one as well. David, you got anything else to add?
Well, gosh, a billion things. It's trying to keep a balance between performed creativity and necessary opinion. It's actually quite a difficult balance. But, the venue's spectacular. The Royal Society of Arts Auditorium, itself, and there's a wonderful downstairs sort of crypt area where refreshments will be served, and we're hoping to actually have the alcoves down there filled with things. I don't know what Dan thinks about that, either things to buy or extra entertainments. I'm not quite sure yet. But overall, it's going to be quite a spiffing event.
And of course, as you say, this is going to be you're going to try and do this every year, and you're always open to new speakers. So anyone we've got quite a broad community here on THA Talks with a lot of great speakers. So if anyone is interested, maybe in to get in touch with Daniele about possible future talks, interesting word, but then do that as well. So sorry, what were you saying, Daniel?
Yeah, definitely. The only thing to remember though, TED rules, you can't talk about religion, politics, or spiritualism, but apart from that, you can talk about anything else. You can talk about humanities, philosophy, technology, science, theatre, art, anything except politics and spiritualism and religion, which is a bit annoying, but I suppose it keeps things safe. It keeps people from sort of it keeps conflicts away.
There's rights don't break out.
People from all the interesting stuff. That's the trouble.
There's one more thing. We're going to have 3 guests from Royal Hospital Chelsea. That's where the veterans live. Some veterans, pensioners. So we want to sort of show our gratitude to them by giving them 3 seats. So there are going to be 3 pensioners from the hospital. They're going to be in their scarlet uniform, the ceremonial uniform. We also have an MP turning up. She's going to be coming in for the first part of the event. So things are really looking up. We're going to have the mayor of Lambeth as well. He's going to open the event, and I think that's it. Those are our VIP guests. So.
Right.
3 MPs were invited. One's confirmed, which shows we've no scruples and we're willing to sink low. And so I'm going to have to bite my tongue about the state of modern British democracy, but hey, I can be a gentleman.
Well, it's as I said, talking is good. So this is the thing. It's getting to the stage now where we're not. So events like this, and it's like what you say, when it's safe. Yeah, sometimes let's not talk about politics and that side of things, and just talk about things we have in common, or we can both appreciate and stuff. So that's important as well.
Oh, Paul, look. Talk. It's important. It's important. That the very essence, remember, of Extremist Club, Free Speech Club. I mean, the thing that galls me to this day is that those people discovered us after the first 3 years. It wasn't a new project. And they decided to pick on 2 people Now, we met every single month for 3 years. So they could only find 2 people. Again, I want all this to remain nameless for various reasons. And both of those speakers actually didn't speak about what they were famous for. So it shows they weren't there. It was muckraking of the first order. And it just shows not only the level of research and reportage nowadays, but a fundamental disbelief in human communication and human goodness. Yeah. I mean, that is an astonishing development in our society. And I, for one, am absolutely determined to oppose it tooth and claw. We must speak, we must perform, we must be free.
Yeah, no, I think what they do as well is they basically want to attack anyone for association. So if you're sitting having a coffee with someone that's in a certain party that people don't like, or got certain views that people don't like, then they won't come to you and say, what was that? And he's just an old friend. We don't agree with everything we talk about, but he's an old colleague and we catch up now and again. No, that's not allowed. Your speech, so therefore you are going to be tainted with the hate they have for that person and so on. And that's what the Extremist Club faced. It's because there was people there that you're associating with. It's automatically death by association. And that's really dangerous because they're trying to isolate that. It's basically a way of isolating any political idea that they don't like. And they're pushing them into a corner to frighten anyone from tolerating it, basically. And all that's going to do eventually is the movement will still grow, and it'll be a very isolated, angry movement. And that's what you don't want. That's when you do get problems. And this is what people like Hope Not Hate, let's say them. This is people like that. They do. Whether I mean, I'm a conspiracy boy. I think they do it on purpose, or whether they're just ignorant to it. But you've got to let people speak. You've got to let freedom be free, or you do get problems. We're already seeing signs of as it is. So hopefully, things will change.
Well, look, you are the conspiracy boy, and I always try to hold back from it. I mean, that's been the dynamic on this show from the beginning. But my God, it looks like a conspiracy at the moment, doesn't it? I mean, these were public events where what are we meant to do? Have a checklist at the door for people coming and buying tickets? Do you agree with this ideology? Do you agree with that political happening 20 years ago? What is wrong with these people? And yet it still galls me that they don't have enough confidence in their own ideas to let public debate take place. Absolutely extraordinary state of affairs. And in Britain, the mother of democracies, we celebrate the mother of Parliament every year with the opening and closing of each particular session, and everybody's lost faith in it because all they can do in Westminster now is line their own pockets and worry about their own parties. Democracy is dying. Assange has been... I mean, didn't the police break the law? I'm really unclear on that the other day. How did they manage to step on Ecuadorian soil to arrest somebody? I'm really unclear on that. And also what happened to Innocent till proven guilty. Did you see the way he was manhandled into the police van?
Yeah.
What on earth is going wrong? This is no longer the free world. And it's time people woke up to that.
Yeah, no, it's and he's terrified to go out to America, probably because he knows that's really where they really want to sting him and stuff. And the irony is he must be very afraid because he's spent 7 years practically in prison because it can't have been a picnic where he was staying in the embassy there. Set to spend 7 years there without leaving. Is a prison sentence, and I think the basic time he would have served, even if for what he was accused of, certain things, was about 5 years or something. So it shows he's obviously very concerned that there's just a lot of corruption and people up to no good out to get him. Otherwise, you're not going to stay there for 7 years on your own accord unless you're very afraid of something. And people can say, he's afraid he's guilty, but I think it's very suspicious given the information he's revealed about a lot of people.
Well, Paul, I think it's more than that. I mean, a mutual friend of ours, Leo Zagami. Listen, world, yes, I call Leo Zagami and Paul Obertelli a friend. No, I don't agree with every single thing they say. It's called being mature. It's called being an adult. It's called having friends because friends have different opinions, not just because they do and say the same thing as you all the time. Bloody grow up, Britain.
Yeah.
Leo Zagami posted something the other day which really, really made me concerned because he says he's got information. Now, God knows where Leo gets his information. But the point is that a huge amount of money changed hands in very high circles of the Ecuadorian government before all of this was given the green light. My God, is this what things have come to? I'm absolutely praying that there is no truth to that. But Leo tends to be very good at unearthing these types of facts.
Well, I just hope that the QAnon conspiracy holds some weight, because this is, according to that movement or faith, I guess it is now, that this is there is a plan to tackle this, and I really do. I'm hopeful there's certain substance to that conspiracy, because it's very. I mean, you've even had Donald Trump give the thumbs up at someone with a QAnon T-shirt on at one of his rallies, so it shows there's an acknowledgement there with it. Whether it's just acknowledging, enjoying the movement that's just supportive of a lot of populism and stuff, whether it be on left or right wing populism. This is what I like about some of these movements. You're seeing signs of a bit of common sense coming together, the left and right saying, look, we need to tackle these. In France with the yellow vests, it's not a right wing movement, it's not a yellow wing movement. I know there's some controversy and, it's a bit of a touchy subject, but at least you're seeing people just tackling certain issues rather than holding on to an ideology. They're basically defending democracy and sovereignty for the people, and that's we should all care about that, because that's why people love the West. That's why the West is an enjoyable place to live, because you can express yourself, and that's why we've had great art, because you can be free to express yourself. That's all going. Art's going down the hill. It's people are petrified of what they can say, and I hope, Mr. Q out there, I hope you're listening, and I hope your plan works. I really do.
Who is he? And what is this Aslan's army thing? Everybody keeps telling me about it, but I don't even know what it is.
Well, first of all, Q is a rundown for people. QAnon is a character or a person that was discovered online on your 4chans and those kind of controversial forums, where he was claiming to be someone with secret intelligence knowledge. He's a part of an underground coup to get rid of the real corrupt politicians that have been running the show over the last few generations, and they've got it's quite a dirty game. They've got dirt on people that they use to blackmail them, to make them turn their agenda around, and so on. And it's I could go on for a long time about what it is, but you research it, QAnon, and it's there's a lot of people that believe in it, and he does drops, which is basically little code words and ideas of what's going on for people to look out for. And most of the time, these codes translate into something that's quite tangible. People say, hang on, he was telling us about this. For example, he was talking about how there's going to be like a unified coalition of parties or politicians around Europe and stuff. And in the following month, that's what you saw with the Italian elections. You saw, even you're seeing it now in England with the two parties that are starting to fall apart, and you're seeing new parties are created. And it just seems to have a very an interesting, advanced insight into the state of affairs that always unfold all the time, which makes it an intriguing thing. As for Aslan's army, that's our friend John White, who's set up that as originally a Facebook page, and now it's got a movement across the internet, and it's just basically a pro QAnon movement who also addresses certain issues themselves, certain campaigns when people are in trouble because of what we're talking about, maybe their free speech or maybe they're being attacked by the establishment in some other way, that he pushes online campaigns, and that's part of Aslan's army. So that's what that one is.
Anyway, the real news is bloody David Icke has had a movie made about him. Have you heard that? Renegade.
I haven't. I'll tell you an interesting person to listen to. Now I'm just saying go and listen to him. I'm not saying it. I'm picking who's right here, but the East 17 ex-singer Brian Harvey, he's got his own YouTube channel, and he's been talking about how he got involved in whistleblowers for paedophile rings and more. More bits and pieces that were going on in the industry that he's revealed, and that he felt his life was under threat for years for things he knew. One of the people who he interacted with, which he wasn't so, I don't think he's gone outright to attack him, but he certainly doesn't trust him, was David Icke. John Wedger, a so-called policeman who's come out as a whistleblower to expose pedophilia rings that the police are protecting, but Brian Harvey saying that he's actually a whistleblower muter. He's out to he attacks the real whistleblowers, hence why he was trying to attack Brian Harvey. But go and check his channel out, because it's very interesting what's going on there. He's constantly updating all the information. He's got evidence that shows what he's talking about is right, that these people have been trying to silence him or take him out. And it all goes back to when he was in E17, and he was outed because he was talking about ecstasy, which he says really it was because he had knowledge of his manager who allegedly had sexually abused one of the band members and so on. And one of the people he hasn't particularly got a lot of trust for is Mr. Ike. So as I said, that's just him. I'm kind of just letting you know.
Yeah, we got to be careful since we both have histories with David Icke. We got to be careful.
Yeah. I mean, I like David. I think in his later. I preferred the old David Icke from years back. I think when he started going into the moon and all this kind of stuff, I started to question it a little bit more. But to be honest, it's still great work. He still puts a lot of interesting stuff out there and gets people thinking. So I'd just say take a pinch of salt with it, though. But it is interesting.
Bloody dancers on stage to dance to his words. Who the hell does he think he is?
Yeah.
Love David. But my God, let's not get carried away.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to just get rid of that music. Yeah, you've got to. You got to. It's a cliche saying now. Open your mind, but not so your brains fall out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, as far as I remember, that E17 stuff wasn't that evil black magician, their manager. I can never remember his name. A clear servant of darkness.
He's certain. I mean, to be honest, I could tell you all about what he's been talking about, but he's been going on about it all year on his channel. But I would certainly recommend. It's interesting because he's certainly got the information that proves what he's saying is correct, and it's kind of like being ignored. He's and he claims that he spent about 5 years afraid of leaving his house because he thought they were going to take him out. I think one of his friends did actually die, which he believes was taken out. It's quite scary when you listen to him, but people say he's crazy. He says he has been a bit crazy. He's had depression and so on, but not to the point where doesn't understand what he's doing or talking about. But yeah, I just thought when you brought up David Icke, I thought that was interesting because I think Brian Harvey is actually exposing quite a few of those types. As I say, I don't think he's outright gone and attacked David Icke, so maybe David Icke is not really one of the bad guys in that, but he's certainly been suspicious, put it that way.
Oh no, I mean Ike's an interesting guy, but bloody lizards and all that. I mean,
Yeah, it's
all of it small potatoes compared to TEDx Lambeth. That's what I say.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we're sort of getting towards that hour. So, is there anything else we'd like to add to this little chat? Anything more about the event that we need to know about?
Well, I mean, some of the speakers are lizards.
Oh my God!
They might be. You never know. They might halfway through the talk reveal it. That would be popular.
So if you want to know who it is, you'll have to come. It won't be recorded, obviously. Not those bits, but that's a mystery.
They blank it out, don't they? They blank it out, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, those bits will be blanked out.
Yeah.
There you go. And there's a bit of a conspiracy there to end on. Well, no, thanks for both coming on the show. I've really enjoyed talking to you, and I'm actually after speaking about this, I'm really looking forward to this event myself. I'm quite excited about it. I'll certainly be there, and I advise all the listeners out there, go and get yourself some tickets. It should be great, and please, if you do, come and say hi. It's going to be good.
Everyone's welcome, and
you can bloody meet Paul Obertelli and bitch with me about David Icke.
There you go.
What more do you want?
Yeah, and I don't know. Well, is it a Friday? Yeah, it's a Friday night, isn't it? It's a Friday afternoon, rather. So a perfect evening to go and have a couple jars afterwards, as they say. So
yeah.
Okay, well, thanks again, and David, you really must start getting back involved in THA talks as well, because it's been too long, hasn't it?
Well, I mean, people tend to forget I was a minister way before I met any of you, and all of it's being revived. So the minute that process is settled, I can get back to the other stuff again.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, I've missed THA. I missed chatting with you, you old bitch. I've missed our listeners. And I've got to make time. I know that. Apologies, repentance. Give me till after Easter and we'll see what I can do.
Definitely. Sounds good. Okay, well, thanks, guys. And we'll speak soon, I'm sure. And hopefully have some of the... it'd be great to have some of the guests come on the show leading up to this event to talk about it further, which maybe you can join them as well. So, yeah, that'd be great.